So activities, why do we have them, and how do they help learning? Can I get some responses from the ones on the call here? Why do we think activities are important in a class, and how do they actually help learning? So we did talk about a lot of games that we love, right? In the beginning, how do these games, why did we start, are we playing these games just for the pleasure of it, or did we actually learn something out of it? Can I get some 4 or 5 responses? Miss Uma says it keeps the students engaged. Yes. For active learning, it grasps the students' attention. It breaks the monotony. Kids love activities. Yes. It causes a lot of interaction and yeah, it arouses interest. It teaches time management. That's interesting. Makes learning more interesting. Okay. Yeah, it builds their thinking skills. It builds their motor skills. That's a very nice point. Yes. It grabs their attention and keeps them, makes learning more visible, helps in learning by doing. Yes, that's exactly what I was looking for. So yes, it helps them. So while doing activities, the brain is actually much alive and it starts to learn much better. Like you all said, it does make the session quite interactive. What it also does is, because the kids are hands-on doing something, it increases their it helps them to learn better also by doing, like one of you said. So yes, we know why activities are good. Yeah, they get a hands-on experience. They also, a lot of activities are usually teamwork based activities. So yes, they help them to understand how they work together. Active learning is more immersion based. It's coming from the child who says, I want to learn, as opposed to what we do when we're doing a lecture or something where the teacher is telling the student what to do, right? So yeah, thanks a lot for your responses. Uh, in the last few sessions, most of the times what we've heard from all the teachers is they want to know how to engage primary and pre-primary grade kids. So here are some different portals which you can access. I will be sending, like I did the last time, I will be sending a mail with all these links to you. Just quickly, let's glance at what these different portals do. I'm going to quickly show you some of the games or some of the activities that are available for you to look here. These are some, this is a site called, a site called Scholastic, again, where you can see a lot of primary, pre-primary, a lot of activities like puzzles, brain boosters, artistic activities, word games, math games, science games, and things like that. This is scholastic.com. I can hear some background noise. Can you all please mute yourselves? Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Miss Uma, if you don't mind, can you mute yourselves? I think we can hear some background noise. All right. Yeah. So, like I was talking about different activities that are available. Here, if you see the English games to learn English, you have different activities that you can see here. There's a jobs game. This is basically for the primary and pre-primary grades where children are still learning how to, learning all these new phrases, new words, new grammar in English. This is something that's very interesting that I found. So if you see here, this game called Weather, what it basically does is it talks about all these different types of weathers that are there. And it starts off with something as simple as um, move the
windy
slides to the different, the pictures that are matching. These are similar to the worksheets that you would have used in classes for your kids also, right? So
sunny
the level keeps increasing
cloudy
as you finish one level. Yeah, so that is one game, and there is this very interesting site called Digital Dialects, where you have a lot of geography games. This is something that you can use for your kids to know about the different places around. So, for example, if you see here, I can go to States of India. And when I want to play the game, I just click on play game. And this is basically for a kid to understand the states and union territories that are there in India. So what I'm supposed to do here is there's a name that's appearing on top. I'm supposed to point out where that place is basically. So if I see Tamil Nadu, I know that Tamil Nadu is in the south. So once I get that answer right, I'm supposed to guess the other states also. So this is something that I found really interesting when you want to teach your kids about different places, want to teach geography and get them to enjoy the figuring out those things on maps also. So yeah, and there are a lot of other links that are available, which I will be sharing with you post this call. Moving on with our presentation here. So like I said, we talked about a few English activities. We saw a few geography activities. There are puzzles, art, and brain-based games in scholastic.com. And there is a site called jumpstart.com also where you can find activities for various grades relating to English, math, and science. And in this session today, we are also going to learn a little bit about collaborative learning and how you can bring the whole team work. So in the earlier webinar, in the last webinar also, I spoke about how children really miss learning with their friends or being with their friends, right? So we saw a few we saw a few techniques that you can use in class to build this collaboration or cooperative kind of learning. Today, I'm going to talk much more in detail about these particular techniques that you can use. There are 4 different strategies, learning strategies that use collaboration and cooperative learning. We're going to talk about each of them through this session. The first one is the most simplest and the most easiest, and I'm sure most of you have tried it out in your classes, in your physical classrooms at least. The first one is think, pair, share. Then we are going to talk more about rainbow learning, reciprocal learning, and the jigsaw method. So let's quickly look at what think, pair, share is. Basically, what you do in a think, pair, share classroom is you give a bunch of questions or you give a certain topic to the kids to read about. And students are in groups of 2 or 3. You ask each of them to think about those questions or that particular topic, and you ask them to share it with the other people in the group. So this is a very effective method to make sure that everybody is learning something new. There is enough amount of collaboration. If one person doesn't know something, the other person is always there to contribute and assist or increase the amount of learning that is there. How you can think, basically make sure that you set a time limit for each person to think, after which they are supposed to share. So it can be 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes, depending on what you want them to think and what information you want them to process. When it is supposed to happen, does it happen during the class? Does it happen before the class? And where does it happen? Which can basically be, are they supposed to think with a pen and a paper? Are they supposed to write down whatever they are thinking? Are they supposed to doodle it or put it up in on their laptops, type it out somewhere? And then pair. So who do they pair with? How do they pair with them, right? So either they can turn to their neighbors, walk across the room, which obviously is not possible right now. So what you can do to pair them is there is a breakout room option that is available on a Zoom meeting. You can pre-assign these groups and put them in these breakout rooms, give them a topic to think, pair, and share about, and come back after a certain designated time. So what they're supposed to do while they are sharing or while they are being paired is the group size shouldn't be more than 4. They come to a consensus, they agree or disagree within their teams. They explain why they think, why they have that particular opinion about that particular topic. So there is some debate, discussion, reasoning, justification, everything that happens while you pair them. And share. They first of all share within their team, and then they share with the larger group, which can be with the whole class, with another group, either verbally or in writing. Or you can use any of these other methods where you use a polling software, you have a whiteboard, there is a classroom open discussion that's happening, and there is a designated time for them to tell, right? So that's basically Think, Pair, and Share, a very easy and very effective method to get the kids to quickly think about a certain topic, answer for themselves for certain questions that you have. Moving on, other fun activities that you can use in your classrooms, which can also help the kids to learn, is Pictionary. There is a web browser application called Scribble.io, which you can use. A good thing about Scribble.io is you can actually customize the words that you want to be included in the Pictionary game that you're using. So it can be something related to your subject itself when you want the kids to quickly guess what the topic is, or when you just want them to have a recap of everything that has happened. It can be some kind of an assignment or some kind of a team activity that they do. So do visit Scribble.io and generate Pictionary games for your kids, where there is learning also. There's a lot of fun that happens. And there's a random word generator, which generates different Pictionary games based on the categories that you're selecting, right? So they have various categories like English phrases, geography, history, all kinds of words that are related to several subjects. You can generate a Pictionary game using this site here. Scavenger hunt and taboo is something that scavenger hunt again is a game where you can use it in various ways. One way that you can do it is put it in a bingo format, have different questions. For example, if you're doing it for math, have a math bingo that they have to do, and they find answers for different questions within the grids. And once they finish solving the entire grid, they found their treasure, right? So treasure.run, I will be showing what the game looks like, or how you can generate these scavenger hunt games, the different ways that you can generate by the end of this session. And play taboo. Taboo is also a great recap activity that we use in most of our Kushala classes as a recap session also. You can play taboo with your kids online on this page called playtaboo.com. Do check that out. But for now, what we're going to do is a combination of picture check bingo. We're going to do a combination of Pictionary and bingo here. This is how we're going to do it. If everyone is ready, can I have a thumbs up? How many of you are up for some games? All right, thank you. I see a few hands raised. I'm hoping they are thumbs ups. All right. Thank you. All right. So this is how it's going to work. So what I'm going to do now is I will be giving a popular English catchphrase on a private chat for one person. I will call out that person's name. I'm going to open up a whiteboard here. So you can draw. I'm going to give you permission to annotate on my screen. So I'm going to open the whiteboard and you can annotate on the screen. You can draw on the screen to get the others to guess what that phrase is that we're talking about. And others, obviously, you're going to look at the screen and guess what the phrase is. And I'm going to show you a bingo page at the end of after you all answer, and we're going to check on the box where the phrase is. All right. So how is this going to work? Let's take a quick example on how we're going to do this. So this is my picture, right? So there is something here and there is something that's breaking. If I look at it, I can see that there is a sword which is being broken by a pen, which means any guesses?
Pen is mightier than sword.
Right, that's what it is. Pen is mightier than the sword. So these are some catchphrases. These are some things that, some phrases from the English language that will be given to you, and you will be presenting, you will be sharing that on the screen in the form of a picture. So I'm hoping everybody is ready. Team one, okay. So I'm going to quickly find somebody to whom I can give the. Okay, the first word goes to Miss Manjula. I'm going to open a whiteboard for you. Allow you to annotate. Miss Manjula, I hope you've gotten the word. You can now start drawing on the screen. You have exactly 1 minute to do that. Miss Manjula, are you there?
Yeah, I've not yet got the word. Oh, you have shown me.
I did. Yeah. I'll just share it on chat one more time.
To draw it?
Yes, you have to draw it and the others have to guess that.
I'm not able to draw.
There is an option called annotate on the meeting controls. Under the more option, you will see something called annotate.
More options. There is participants, chat.
There are 3 small buttons on the side, right? If you click on that, you'll see something called annotate.
I think it's on top of the screen. In my laptop, it comes on top.
Yeah.
Top where the share screen, there are view options.
Yeah. Can you click on view options?
Yeah, it is in view options.
Yeah. Okay. I'm hoping only Miss Manjula is typing right now, drawing right now.
I can see. Hope I'm right.
I'm starting to get some answers. Not really. Nice try.
Can we say the answer? Can we say the answer?
No, please type it out on the chat so that everybody gets a chance to.
Okay, okay.
I'm not getting pencil, so that. Okay.
Look before you leap.
Look before you leap. Okay, might be. Wow, getting a lot of.
I don't know. I'm not able to join. Can I do Control Z to go? I mean. Okay.
There is an eraser option that's there on the annotations. Or there is undo, redo also. Or you can just clear all the drawings by clicking on the bin on the same row.
Okay, let me try.
Wear a mask? Not really.
Okay, they could guess that they are seeing something.
Beauty in the eyes of the beholder. Rolling stones gather no mass. Very nice. You're just telling out all the phrases in English you know about.
Okay, I could.
I hope everybody else is able to hear. I think Miss Anita isn't able to hear us. Miss Anita, are you still there on the call?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now, ma'am?
Yeah, yes, I can hear.
All right.
Hope they will not say it as butterfly.
Some cartoon. Sleepy eyes are closing. That's close actually, Miss Anjana. So think about closed eyes. What happens when your eyes are closed?
You dream.
Okay. Dreaming.
அது போர்டுல வரையற ஒத்தி இன்னுத்தி கண்டுபிடிக்கணும் என்னதுன்னு.
Are you able to see my chat with you, Shilpa?
Yes, I am able to see. Oh, Geeta ma'am has actually got it right. Very nice.
Got it? Oh,
yes,
God.
one of them has actually got it. Miss Geeta, you want to tell out what the answer is?
This animal is very difficult to draw, actually.
Yeah.
I think you've done a great job. It's blind as a bat. Yeah.
Right, that's what
So
we
they
were
got
looking
it.
for.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for that, Miss
Yeah.
Anita. Yes, blind as a bat is what we're talking about. Next phrase, I'm going to give it to, let's see, Akhila, Miss Akhila. Let's see. So I can't find Miss Akhila. So Aarti Prasad, I'm going to give the next word to you. Next phrase to you, sorry. Miss Aarti Prasad, here is your phrase. And let me quickly share the screen. Yeah. Miss Aarti, you're free to draw now.
Okay, ma'am. I'll just try.
Yeah.
Oh, it's difficult.
All right, the last one was blind as a bat. This one, okay. Time saves 9, not really. Watching TV, too many cooks spoil the broth. Okay, might be. Really? Snug as a bug in a rug. Very nice, but not really. So yes, we know that there's something written on a board. There are people sitting in front of the board. We shall overcome. Not really. Unity is strength. So think about the board that is there, someone who's sitting in front of the board. Board. It's something related to a school, yes. So what do we usually do when kids are really getting out of control? Some phrase that teachers usually use. Not really.
Pin drop
Not
silence.
really.
Pin drop silence.
Drop silence.
Pin drop silence.
Not really. So when there is no pin drop silence and you're completely done with the class, you're kind of frustrated. Is this the fish market? Yes. That's something that we use. Yes. What else do we say? Spare the rod and spoil the child. All play. All right. Not really the right responses. Ms. Aarti, you want to go ahead and tell what the answer is?
Will you all please keep quiet?
Not really. It's a phrase that we're talking about. It's an English well-known phrase that we're talking about.
The classroom is a zoo. Is the
Right.
phrase.
Yeah. That's basically what we were looking for. The classroom is a zoo. So I think we are running a bit short on time. So we're going to move quickly ahead. We've done 2 of them now. So one was that, and the other was the classroom was a zoo. Good job done there. So this is something that you can use in your classes also, a very interesting way to, for example, if you're teaching other languages also, you can put in these different phrases, that idioms or other phrases that you would use in that particular language and get these students to guess. Ask one student to do a Pictionary and get the other students to guess. And once most of the kids have solved all of these, they kind of feel fulfilled and they've also learned a lot of things, right? So you can use this kind of a Pictionary bingo combination of activities for your math, English, any other language, social science, anything that you want. You can use this kind of a Pictionary bingo kind of arrangement. Moving on, I'm skipping the other questions because there are 2 more interesting activities that we want to do. So taboo, how does it work? I'm sure most of us have played taboo with our friends. Basically how it works is there is a word that you have to get the other people of the team or other people of the class to guess without using certain words, additional words that are listed on the screen. And you're supposed to use only words and you're not supposed to use any gestures or sounds. So this is what a taboo usually looks like. Watch is the word that you want the others to guess, and they are not supposed to use these particular words while they are describing a watch, right? Moving on to the next collaboration activity, that strategy that we were talking about is called reciprocal teaching. In this, what you basically do is get the kids in groups, around 4 to 5 kids in one group, and you assign different roles for each of the kid. For example, the first student is a predictor who is supposed to, you give them a reading material, a lesson or a chapter or something that they have to know about. You give them a material. It can, if you're doing a language, it can be a story that you're teaching them. So what the predictor would basically do is, what do you think this text is going to be about? Why do you think so? All right. So they're supposed to read the first 1 or 2 lines of the text, or based on the brief that you gave them. They are supposed to predict what the text is going to be about without actually reading the entire material. And then there is a clarifier who goes through the entire text, who clarifies the important vocabulary words that are there, which other students might not understand. Before they all read the text, this clarifier is going to clarify all the difficult points or the vocabulary pain points that might be there in the text. And then comes the question, where students in the team, this questioner is basically supposed to ask a lot of questions about that particular topic with everybody else in the group. And finally, there is a person who summarizes, who retells, who tells what the theme was, what the story was about, and the predictor basically sees how relevant it was to what they had predicted. So that's basically where everybody in the group actively participates in the whole process of learning. And everybody, so every time you give them a new text, you get them to, you change their roles, right? So the
and in our online class, okay, tomorrow I give you a call, please.
So like I said, there are four people in a team, and each person is assigned a specific role. One is a predictor who's supposed to guess what is going to happen in the text, give a proper justification as to why they think so. Then there is a clarifier who gives all the important vocabulary, clarifies all the doubts of the students before they start reading the text. Then once they're finished reading, all of them are finished reading the text, the clarifier again jumps in to solve any doubts that the questioner has to ask, right? So students will get to get the other students to ask rigorous and relevant questions. And then there is a summary that happens where the summarizers puts all the information that they collected, retells the whole thing to the larger group or within their group itself, where there is a summary to tell what the theme of the topic or the text was. Right? So this is a very effective technique where you, like I said, get everybody to participate. Everybody feels just as important, and everybody, because the predictor wants to know what's going to happen in the text, they're going to read the text much more better. The clarifier, because they have to answer questions, is going to anyways read. Questioner and summarizer again have very important roles to play. So this is reciprocal teaching. That is one technique that you can use to have teamwork happen and make sure that everybody is on the same page while they are learning. Next comes rainbow learning. Again, something similar to reciprocal learning. Let's look at a small video to understand.
With rainbow learning, each color represents a specific role for a student in a group. These are the roles I assign students when I use rainbow learning in my classroom. Red is the volume monitor. This student controls the volume of each team. Make sure team members don't speak too loudly or too softly, and is also the mute button when the team should be quiet. This job is very important because when you have a large group of students, they can go beyond healthy noise if you are not careful. Orange is the language monitor. This student politely reminds the team members to speak the target language and reminds the group to speak politely. Yellow is the participation monitor. This student makes sure there are no hogs or logs. Hogs are students who like to dominate the conversation, and logs are students who don't participate much, either because their level is lower or they are disengaged. Green is the topic monitor and timer. This student reminds the team to stay on topic if they forget, and if an activity requires a timer, this person is in charge as well. So by assigning everyone in a group a specific color and a role, the groups don't get too loud, practice the target language, participate equally, and stay on topic. Not to mention, they are also learning to become responsible for their own learning and staying more engaged in the task. Check out some helpful tips for facilitating rainbow learning in your classroom by pausing here.
Right, so that's basically what rainbow learning is. It has more to do with classroom management as well as engagement, where every student has an important role to play. It is a little different from the earlier reciprocal teaching or reciprocal learning that we learned about, where here it is more towards how they can be more engaged and have, there's a lot more participation that happens during the session. So everybody is responsible both when it comes to reciprocal or rainbow learning. Moving on.
With rainbow
questions only. This is another activity that is very, very interesting. Again, something that you can use for many of your subjects here. Here are the instructions of how it is going to work. We're going to quickly play this game for another 5 minutes and move ahead. So the entire class here, obviously, because we are 160 of us here, I'm not going to divide us into groups. But when you're doing in a classroom, you usually divide the entire class into 3 to 4 groups and suggest some 3 to 4 imaginary scenarios based on anything, like based on your topic. Here we've just chosen Disney or Pixar movies. 2 members from a team volunteer to have a conversation on basis of the suggested scenario. So this is an example of how this improv questioning is going to run. Let me quickly play this.
You put an ad in the paper for a new dwarf. You want to meet the rest of the guys? Would I? Peg leg, hair lips. What are you doing? Can't you see I'm making sandwiches for all the dwarves? Don't you know you're supposed to guard the cave? Who died and made you boss? Didn't you see my boss sticker? Your name's Groupie? Do you know anyone else who can get a band together like that? You're that groupie? Have you read my headlines?
Yeah, I guess most of us have gotten a hang of what it is going to look like. So you converse only in questions. For the benefit of everybody here, I'm going to start off with the topic. I'm going to say, just a minute. Yeah. So I'm going to start off by with Rapunzel's story. So Rapunzel says, why am I stuck here on this tower, on top of this huge tower? I want Miss Abira, do you want to continue this conversation? Please remember that you answer only in questions. You continue a conversation only with questions. Why am I stuck here on top of this huge tower, tall tower? You can tell it out. Okay, you have a network issue. Okay, let's choose someone else. Let's have Miss Genevieve. Do you want to continue this conversation here? Okay. Okay, I think whoever wants to go ahead with this conversation, you can unmute yourselves and continue it here.
Did the wicked witch keep you there?
Did the wicked witch keep you there? Next.
Will somebody come and rescue me?
Okay.
Who brought me here?
How do I take care of my long hair if I'm stuck here?
Very nice.
Is there any way of getting down?
Okay.
Where is the prince?
Where's the prince?
Can I go down and have a look at
Can I get some wings to fly down?
All right. Do I
What's
need some
behind the
wings
mountain?
What's behind the mountain? Okay.
Why did the witch
go
take the
ahead,
couple's child? I think I remember the story. Why did the witch take the couple's child?
Okay. Why did the witch take the couple's child? Abira ma'am says, why should I wait for the prince? Can I try something else? Very nice. Yes,
Can I get some wings to fly?
Can I get some wings to fly? Okay.
Can I get a magic lamp to get down?
Can I get a magic lamp to get down?
Do I have magic hair who can heal people? Which can heal people?
Okay.
What are all these pictures in my tower here talking about?
What are all these pictures on my towel you're talking about? Okay. Go ahead. Let's see how, can we twist the story a little bit here now?
Why do you think I am stuck?
How I wished there was a lift now.
How I wish there was a lift now. Why isn't there a lift here? Okay. Which construction company actually built this tower here? How is it standing so solid? Let's try and twist the story a little bit here.
Is there a secret path down?
There a secret path down. Okay.
Why don't I come out of my dream now?
Why don't I come out of my dream now? Very nice. So yes.
What will happen to me if there is an earthquake?
What will happen to me if there is an earthquake? Let's now look at ending the story. How would we want to end this story?
Thank God. I'm out of my dream.
That's not a question, sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Why didn't I think of the mobile phone in my pocket?
Very nice. Yes. Why didn't I think of the mobile phone in my pocket?
Can I stay here since it's Corona outside?
Very nice. Well, nice. That's where I'm going to end this. That's a very good end to the story. I'm just going to stay here because it's Corona anyways outside and I don't want to die outside, right? Very nice. Okay. So yes, that was the a question round. It's an improv story telling round. Again, you can use it for different, even for history actually. I was thinking like, start thinking about people, start thinking about Aurangzeb, Shah Jahan, some Mughal emperor. How do you want to change their story? How do you want to tell their story? How do you want them, how do you want to know what your students understood about their story, right? So different stories that you can use, get your children to actually think innovative ways of how they want to build out those stories. And yeah, that's a fun game that you can play with your kids and also help them in learning. Moving on to the last method that we had about collaborative practices, the jigsaw method. Again, practice where you put your team, students in different teams. And let's see how it works. It's a bit of a complicated method, but it's a very, very effective way to make sure that every single student of your class is in line with what is being taught in the class. Let's look at how the jigsaw method works.
Hey there, this is Jennifer Gonzalez for Cult of Pedagogy. In this video, I will be showing you how to use the jigsaw method. First, I'll show you the basic structure of the jigsaw, then a variation known as Jigsaw 2, and finally, I'll give you some tips for troubleshooting this strategy. So what is the jigsaw method? Developed by Elliot Aronson in 1971, Jigsaw is a cooperative learning strategy where each student in a group takes responsibility for one chunk of the content, then teaches it to the other group members. Like the pieces of a jigsaw puzzle, students fit their individual chunks together to form a complete body of knowledge. Here are the steps of a basic jigsaw, sometimes referred to as Jigsaw 1. Step 1 is to divide students into groups of 4.
Background noise, please mute yourselves if you're not saying anything. Thank you.
4 to 6 people per group. Jigsaw works best when you have the same number of students in each team. So avoid having some groups of 4, some of 5, and some of 6. Later in this video, I'll show you what to do if you can't divide students into even teams. For this example, we'll assume you're working with a class of exactly 30 students who can be divided evenly into groups of 6.
So just to recap what's happening here, Jigsaw is mainly where you have a and then you have an expert group also. So how you basically do this is divide your teams, divide your class into equal numbered groups, like you can see here. You divide, you have teams of 6 in your class, assuming there are 30 students in your class. There are 5 groups here. And you're going to have 6 different pieces of information for each of them. So the entire material that you're going to teach during that particular day, you're going to divide it into 6 different chunks of information. And each student is going to be reading through one piece of that material. Moving on.
Call these jigsaw groups. Step 2, divide your content into 4 to 6 chunks. It's important to divide the content into the same number of chunks as the number of students in each group. So if you have 6 students per group, break your content into 6 chunks. If you're only going to have 5 students in each group, then you'll only need 5 chunks. Suppose you're a history teacher and you're doing an overview of different types of government. You could divide your content into these chunks: democracy, dictatorship, monarchy, republic, totalitarianism, and theocracy. By the way, these index cards just represent chunks of content. You don't need to use actual index cards to do Jigsaw. A chunk of content can be a section of a textbook chapter, a handout containing information, or an online resource. Step 3, assign one chunk of content to each person in the Jigsaw group. Each group has one person responsible for one chunk of the content. That person will be expected to teach that chunk to the rest of the group. At this point, students don't really interact with other members of their group. They just read and study their own chunk of content independently. Then their independent study is fortified by the next step. Step 4, have students meet in expert groups. After each student has studied his or her chunk independently, they gather with all the other students who have been assigned to the same chunk. These are called expert groups. Within each expert group, students compare their ideas and work together to prepare some kind of presentation to give to their Jigsaw group. During this time, gaps in individual students' knowledge can be filled, misconceptions can be cleared up, and important concepts can be reinforced. Step 5, students return to Jigsaw groups. Now that students have studied their chunks in their expert groups, they return to their original Jigsaw groups, where each student takes a turn presenting their chunk of information. Meanwhile, the other students listen carefully, take notes, and ask lots of questions. Once the first expert has gone, the others take their turns. As each expert teaches their chunk of content, the others in the group are learning it. Step 6, assess all students on all the content. The assessment can be a simple quiz to make sure all students got a basic understanding of all the material. Be sure to include all content chunks in this quiz. Jigsaw 2 is a variation on the basic structure of Jigsaw. Developed by Robert Slavin in 1986, Jigsaw 2 makes one significant tweak to the basic Jigsaw. The difference is in how the assessment is treated. In Jigsaw 1, students are assessed individually and receive just one score. In Jigsaw 2, quiz scores are given once to individual students, then each group's scores are averaged to generate a group score. This builds in competition between groups and encourages students to work harder at helping each other learn the material well. Here are a few tips for troubleshooting this strategy. One problem you might encounter is this: what if students don't divide evenly? Now, ideally, you'd have a perfectly divisible group. But as we all know, that kind of perfection rarely happens, and even if you have perfection in your plans, one absent student can throw your whole game off. First, remember that you can create groups of 4, 5, or 6, and some Jigsaw advocates even allow for groups of 2 or 3. So that should help minimize extra students. Still, if you end up with a few extras, just assign 2 students in the same group the same chunk. Now, what if some experts don't teach the material very well? If this group is depending on this one student to teach them about monarchies, and he's not the strongest student, that group is kind of out of luck. You can anticipate this problem when creating your groups. One thing you can do, if you have an uneven number of students, is to pair up 2 students on the same chunk who might be stronger together than they would be on their own. Also, it's the responsibility of the expert group to make sure that everyone is prepared to present their chunk to their respective Jigsaw groups. If one student isn't really getting it, make sure the rest of the group gives that student extra preparation.
So that's basically what the Jigsaw method was. It might look like it takes a lot of time. Yeah, but what you can do in your classes is you can share the material offline before the class starts itself. Right, so yeah, I think there's someone trying to speak. Can you please okay, thank you. So yeah, that's the Jigsaw method that we saw about. Basically what you do is create experts within your class itself and get them to teach the other students. Again, making sure that every student feels responsible for their own role. You give one piece of information for everybody in a particular group, make them experts for that particular topic or that particular set of content, get them to discuss with the experts in other groups also, so that there is more learning that happens, more perspectives, more ideas that come from each other. There's a more understanding that happens. Then these experts, once they have made sure this is how we're going to teach it to the other people in your group, you go back to your own group so that there is a standardized learning that happens. Everybody is on the same page again because they've all agreed on what they have to teach about that particular topic to the others. And again, like it was said, if you have some people who you think might not be very good in explaining that particular topic, bind them with some other kid who might be stronger in that subject and get them to do work together so that the one who is not very good at it also gets to learn something from that. So that was the Jigsaw method that we're talking about. Do try it out in your classes. Like I said, you can send out these materials to them beforehand itself, ask the students to prepare on it. And in the class, you can just ask all the experts to meet together, put them in breakout rooms. And once they're done discussing, you can put them back in their Jigsaw groups where the knowledge sharing happens. Finally, do an assessment in your class. So that's the Jigsaw method. And since we are talking about jigsaws, let's do a jigsaw puzzle in our class, right? What we're going to do here is, like you can see, I'm going to do an image reveal. So I'm going to take off one block at a time. And you're going to start guessing on the chat, the first person to be able to guess. Yeah. So the first person who is going to guess the personality that I'm looking at is going to win. I don't know, however you want those points to be given to you. So yeah, let's start off starting from the bottom left. This is a personality that we are talking about. Who do you think I'm talking about here? A very famous personality. Any guesses as of yet?
Zuckerberg.
Sorry?
Mark Zuckerberg.
Mark Zuckerberg? Not really. This is the childhood photo of the personality that we're talking about. Okay, let's move on to the next level. Okay, that's the second level.
Is that Indira
Must be a spokesperson.
Sorry, can you type? Okay, Shri Parvati, yes, you've gotten it right. Very nice. Very nice, Ms. Madhulika. You've also gotten it right. Let's look at.
Is it Steve Jobs?
Steve Jobs, not really. So,
Helen Keller.
any other responses? Okay, a lot of you think it's Indira Gandhi. Okay, let's see. Who do you think
Anne Frank.
talking about? Anne Frank, Indira Gandhi. Childhood photo of a very famous
Gayatri Devi.
Gayatri Devi. Okay.
Kangana Ranawat.
Indira Gandhi.
Okay. So yes, it is Indira Gandhi that we are talking about.
Federer.
So yeah, so this is Indira Gandhi. I see that a lot of you actually got it right. Yeah. Very nice. So yes, we are talking about Srimati Indira Gandhi, belonging to the Gandhi family. So what you can do is, this is something you can really try out in your classes. Have an image reveal. So what we did here was an image reveal. What you can do for younger kids also is have small pieces of these jigsaw cut out and put at the bottom of the slide, and they will have to put all these pieces together and figure out who it is. So this is something that you can do on PowerPoint itself, on Google Slides or PowerPoint. I will be sharing a link, a YouTube link on the tutorial to how you can do this on PowerPoint. Yeah. So yes, this is Indira Gandhi. Very good job, everybody guessing the answer. Let's have a follow-up question about Indira Gandhi. So this is renowned Sarod player, Ustad Amjad Ali Khan, and he is known for composing ragas in honor of famous Indians. He created the Kamshri Raga in the memory of Rajiv Gandhi, the Raga Jawahar Majari as a tribute to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. And in 1984, he composed a raga mourning the Srimati Indira
Priyadarshini.
Right? And it is it reminds us of a quick and self-service type of vegetarian restaurant that we find a lot in Bangalore in Karnataka. So yes, like some of you said, it is Priyadarshini. That is the raga that he composed as a tribute to Indira Gandhi. And Darshinis are the restaurants that, the self-service restaurants that we call in Bangalore, right? So this is also something that you can do, have them reveal an image and then have a follow-up question to reiterate the fact, to have more information that you can share with them during the sessions. So that's basically what we had for today. Hope it was something that was useful to you. Okay, so check out our QShala YouTube channel. We have something called Curiosity Clips, Notebook Nuggets, where we share very interesting pieces of trivia, something related to general knowledge, a lot of information that we share. So here is the link of our YouTube channel on the chat box here. Certificates will be awarded. I know that in the last week we've had some issues in sharing the certificates with everybody. What we'll now be doing is make sure that your the certificate templates are sent over to you, and we'll make it an editable format so that you can type in your names, download the certificates as a PDF, and keep them as a reference for yourselves. So certificates will be awarded for everybody who has attended this seminar today. Finally, let's take a quick snap. And I remember that I spoke about how I'll be showing a few websites where I came across a lot of cool activities. We'll be doing that in a bit after we take a picture of everybody on the call here. If you're comfortable, please turn on your cameras, and because we are Desis, we're going to say paneer and not cheese, right? So, yeah. All right, 3,
Paneer.
2, 1, and paneer.
Paneer.
Thank you. More paneer.
Paneer.
Okay. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you.
We're going to quickly discuss, look at a few other activities that we were talking about.
You said you would share the link for the jigsaw activity.
Yes, yes. I'll do that all with the post mail that I'll be sending out by tomorrow. You'll get all the links that I talked about, the activities that I spoke about, where you can access them all on the mail that I sent with you, sent to you, yes, tomorrow. So yeah, this is the scavenger activity that I was talking about. This is a site called treasure.run. You can create a lot of printable games out here. You can customize your games by saying what theme you want to ask the questions on. And you can select the language. Obviously, we're going to select English here. So there are different types of puzzles that you can design here, where there can be shuffled. I'm going to show a few different types here. So here, basically, couch is something that you want the kids to guess. So the riddle is, I have no arms but hand. I have arms but no hands. So what is it that we're talking about? So if you see, it is the answer comes up, the riddle comes up like this, and they're supposed to cut these in and find out what the riddle is to solve it. This is again a 3x3 jigsaw. Here, basically each color, the letters in each color, they're supposed to be put together to find out what the sentence is. For example, yeah, in the bathtub. Right. Okay. So yeah, they need to decipher the code by matching both the shape and the color. So I'm going to match N, I'm going to match T. Yeah. So that is one type of puzzle that you can ask. Color coding puzzles, again, all the blue colors together come up with all day long. I stay in bed all day long, I miss your head. So yeah, that's something that they have to figure out. This is a mirror puzzle where they have to put it in front of the mirror and find out what. This is again fallen letters. So these letters have fallen down. They put all these according to the line on which they're supposed to be and figure out what the riddle is and find the answer. So yeah, these are different types of puzzles that you can create using this website. But what you can also do is you can have a math bingo or a scavenger hunt bingo, like I spoke about for the Pictionary bingo that we did. You can have a lot of questions in your bingo grids and get them to answer. And once they solve one grid, one block, they get to solve the bingo. And yeah, that can be made as a game for them also. How do you play Taboo online? Again, there is this website that I spoke to you about, which is, yeah, you can share the screen with the student alone, who you want to play. Who you want to give the guessword to the other kids. And once you hit on play, the timer starts running and the other kids have to guess the word. Again, this is something that's available online. You can also create some of these on your PowerPoint slides itself. There are a lot of templates that are available. It's a very easy game that you can play with all your kids. So that's basically what I had. I hope you found this session a little informative and a bit interesting. We've got your back. We welcome for any upcoming webinar ideas that you may have. Please type your other ideas. What else do you want to learn on our next webinars on the chat, and we'll see how well we are going to come up with some ideas there. Any other questions you have, please make sure that you answer. Ask here.
Would like to, initially you spoke about Sunday family quiz. So what are the details, ma'am? Do we have to register somewhere?
Yes, yes. 1 minute. I'll just share those details also with you.
Sure.
Yes, I've shared the links for the Sunday Family Quiz, what time it happens, how you can register for the program also. Okay. For senior students, actually, you can use the activities that I spoke about, like Pictionary, Taboo, things like that can be used for senior students also. Right. Any other questions? All right, some technical training. There are actually a lot of technical aspects. A lot of you use different tools in schools. So we weren't really sure which specific tools you wanted help in. If you can tell us exactly what kind of technical assistance you need, we can prepare for the next webinar based on that. Some math examples, I did share a lot of resources in the last class also, where you had a lot of activities that you can do. I think I shared, I shared a couple of links in the last class for specifically for math. There were a lot of resources and materials that I did share. Do let me know if you need more, and I can find out for exactly for what. Yeah, the Thushala YouTube ID is.
For higher class kids, they can't participate in the family quiz.
Everybody can. So the one that says 9 and above, it's open for all, even teachers, even my parents also participate in that. So the 9+, the quiz, the senior quiz, junior quiz.
But the details of that is not, I have not received that in the chat box. Only 4+
so and
1 to 3 are there.
Grades 4+. So that is age 10
so
and above.
You mean up to 4 and above?
Yeah, grades up to 4 and above. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So if somebody is also not part of the family, of the WhatsApp group that we are currently having as part of our teacher community, I'm sharing the link for that as well. You can click on this link and it will guide you to the WhatsApp community. Join us over there. Guide for chemistry resources. Sure, I can look into them. Math activity links, I will look for some more and send it across with my post mail tomorrow. Sure. ICT resources, I don't think I understand this. Can you explain this, ma'am? Chemistry, okay, yeah. Science activities, yeah, I did share a lot of resources, a website called Arvind Gupta Toys, where you can teach a lot of, get the students to do a lot of, build a lot of models and do some science experiments. So that's basically what I had for today. If you have any doubts or any queries, you can drop them on the chat. And if you have nothing else to share, you may leave the call. Thanks a lot, everybody, for joining for our session today.
Thank you.